Cześć kochani and warm welcome. Today we are, as you can see in my kitchen, we are continuing with this tomato loaf. I already made some tomatoes in a jars that I posted in a previous video, and today I want to show you another option that will allow you to add more tomatoes into your diet, and especially later on in a season, because the season is very short and we want to preserve the goodness for the fall and winter months. So what we're going to do, we're going to very quickly lacto-ferment our tomatoes. And usually when we talk about lacto-fermentation, for most people, tomatoes are not really the first ones coming on mind. And believe me, especially in Europe, in the area where I'm from Poland, lacto-fermented tomatoes are prized for their flavors, for their health benefits, and they are being made same as you would make your cucumbers or some other vegetables. So today's recipe is very quick, and as always you can adjust all the proportions to your liking. You can skip some spices, you can add your favorite. I'm just giving you one of the options. So what we need of course tomatoes, and for this the best tomatoes would be ones that are not very soft, not ones that have a lot of seeds in them. So for example, the heirloom would be amazing, especially if you have the variety with a little more of the meaty part in them. But probably I would go, since we need to use the whole tomatoes, I would not go with the biggest ones. I would use anything that is smaller, just like those guys here. But I use those tomatoes only if I have abundance, because they are so delicious on its own that I don't want to say waste, because they're not going to waste here, but I want to eat them as a slicers or the tomatoes. And my tomato of choice for any preserves is actually Roma tomato. We're choosing tomatoes that are very healthy. We don't want to have any parts that are spoiled, because this will affect our preserves. So not spots on them, no mold, nothing like that. And tomatoes, they are ripened but not overly ripened, not something that it's easy falling apart, still nice and firm. So we're going to place our tomatoes in a jar. Before I do that, I'm going to just remove it because it makes noise. Before I do that, I'm going to put some spices in the jar. So here I have white mustard seeds, and I like adding mustard because it gives not only flavor, but also it helps those tomatoes to stay harder, more firm for a longer time. So I'm up for a jar like this. I'm adding about half a teaspoon of mustard seeds. You could also add the black mustard seeds, whatever you have. If you don't have mustard seeds, it's not really 100% necessary. I like to also add allspice. Allspice has such a wonderful aroma, and I like when the berries infuse the brine a little bit. So I will use probably about 10 berries, and they will go right at the bottom. And I also like to add cloves. I love cloves. They have such an antibacterial, fungi, antivirus properties. So not only they will allow here to help us to keep the brine free of molds and all the bad bacteria, it also will add a little more very interesting flavor. But cloves are intense in flavor, so I will only add two, maybe 3 for this entire jar. And it's all if it comes to our dry spices. And now we will be layering. So first I will add a little bit of garlic. And I don't peel my garlic. Everything that I have here is grown without any pesticides, without any chemicals. So if you have access to this kind of veggies and fruits, I highly encourage you to just reach for those, because not only they are better, healthier for you, but also it's good to support farmers who, you know, who grow things the right way and make sure that the soil is not abused and it's always being nourished and full of minerals and vitamins for us. We can either lightly crush the garlic, or you can just cut it into chunks, whatever works for you. As you can see, I didn't even remove the shells from outside. The shells, they have flavor, they also have nutrients, so I don't see the reason of removing them. And I love a lot of garlic. I will be layering. And here I have just regular white onion. And the onion, I'm just removing the outer drier shells. And maybe cut a little bit the part that may not look too good. And just very roughly cut it into, this one is small, so probably in quarters. I like to keep my veggies still in chunks, because later when they are fermented, you can use them as a toppings on, you know, on your salads. Okay, so 2 onions for now, and now we're going to go with our tomatoes. So tomatoes, and we tried to put them tight, but without squishing them. We want to have a nice and tight fit. Okay, and now dill. Dill, I love for its flavor. It gives, we know what dill does to dill pickles. It just really enhances the flavor. I add dill to pretty much all my lacto-fermented foods because I love the flavor, and I am very generous with dill. And if you have the flowering part, the flowering stalk, that's very good. It's even more intensive flavor. If not, regular, just like this one, will be good too. And we go in our jar. And now hot pepper. We will give a little bit of kick. If you don't tolerate any heat, skip the peppers. If you like heat, just use peppers, whatever are your favorite. So here I have jalapenos, I have Scotch bonnet, and I have red chili peppers. And I'm going to go with red chili because they seem to be the mildest from all of them that I have here, and I don't want to overwhelm my tomatoes. I'm looking for a little heat, but not too much. So I will just cut this part out, exposing the seeds, and that is going to be enough. I like to put this entire pepper here, because again, later we can remove this pepper and we can use it in sauces and other things. And if it's finely chopped, it will affect the brine and the level of heat even more. So now let's add a little more onion and garlic again. And I would completely forgot because it's hiding here under my bowl. Horseradish root. Besides the wonderful health properties, it will add another level of heat and of course of flavor. This is just regular horseradish root that I washed and peeled, and I used to actually cut it into like a little matchsticks, but I saw someone using this little vegetable peeler and just shaving like this, and I really like this method. It's so much easier, and it allows us to have very thin slices. Really, this way the horseradish releases more flavor, much better, much easier than if it's cut into bigger chunks. And now we boost the health even more by adding turmeric root. Turmeric root, very rich in a curcumin, very strong anti-inflammatory properties. The one thing, it really stains your fingers. So if you don't want to have yellow fingers for a few days, use gloves. But I will just slice it just like that. See, already such a yellow tomatoes. I'm already such a yellow fingers. And now let's add more of our tomatoes. And I love horseradish, so I'm adding more garlic. And I'm going to add a little more onion, another nice handful of dill, and I'm going to add just a little piece of pepper. It's nice to end with tomatoes. This way all the garlic, spices, dill, everything stays more under the surface of the brine later, and it helps to prevent any spoilage too. And for the brine, we will be using for every liter of just regular filtered water, or you can use spring water, water that doesn't have a chlorine. If you're using tap water and you know that it's chlorinated, either just let it sit for maybe overnight on your counter to help the chlorine to evaporate, or you can bring it to boil for about 2-3 minutes. The chlorine will evaporate, and just let it completely cool. For every liter of water, I'm adding 1.5 tablespoons of salt, and I always use either Himalayan salt or I use unrefined sea salt, because this way I know that my salt is not stripped of all the minerals, it's not chemically processed, it's not bleached, so it's much better than regular white table salt. Dissolve it well, and all we have to do is to pour. So there you go. And now cover with a little bit of clove and leave it on the kitchen counter, and then you will have tomatoes ready in about 5-7 days. If you are planning to make those tomatoes for later on, like for example for winter, then what you would do now, you would seal the jar, close it, and right away you place it in a cold room, somewhere in a basement. It has to be cold room. They will very slowly ferment, and they should be ready in about 3 weeks. After the time when you open up the jar, and if you don't finish the entire jar right away, just place it in a refrigerator. So it's completely up to you. You can have jars that you can enjoy right away, some jars for the winter. And this is how simple it is. So I hope you got inspired, and if you never tried lacto-fermented tomatoes, I'm sure you will love them. Super healthy, super beneficial for us, super easy to make, and also something different, something that you can share with your friends and family, and you can really feel good about it. So I hope you like it, and please leave in a comment. Let me know if this is something new for you, or maybe you've been making lacto-fermented tomatoes for a while. Tell me why you love them. And for today, I thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you next time.